one thing that I wanted to fill in as you start your readings about doing critical reading and active reading is the idea of activating schema. Schema is the word that many education researchers and reading teachers use to refer to your background knowledge. So really what you're doing is when you start reading, you want to get your filing cabinet open where you keep everything you've learned. You want to start thinking about what you already know and how what you're learning fits with that set of knowledge you already have. So by thinking about what you already know before you start reading, you'll be more able to start fitting your new knowledge in with the knowledge that you already have. It can make reading both more rewarding and more meaningful. So there are three kinds of schema. These three kinds of schema fit together, but they can also stand on their own as good ways to help you start making sense of the new knowledge that you're gathering. So the first thing is topic-specific knowledge. Topic-specific knowledge is, as you may guess, what you already know about the specific thing you're studying. So if I decide that I'm going to study desert fish, I might start by reviewing my knowledge of animals that live in the desert, what features may really impact water availability and the way that water flows through desert habitats. And I might start thinking about the kinds of fish that I know already exist in the areas that I'm studying. The next thing is going to be general world knowledge. So general world knowledge is going to be the larger picture that you can fit your individual learning into. So if I'm going to read an article about the impact of aircraft in World War I might start by thinking about broadly what I know was going on in the world right then, maybe what I know about military strategy or about the development of aircrafts in general. Finally, there's text organization or structure knowledge, and that includes your knowledge of the author. So my reading may really be impacted by the way that information is organized. If you had a large section of text, you might interact with that differently than if you had a click-through button to get through, and that may be very different than if you were to do something that combined text with video, right? Structure knowledge can also really come into play. So if I'm gathering information about a world event, say Civil War, right? I want to gather information about the Civil War. If I'm reading a textbook, I'm going to approach that differently than if I'm reading somebody's memoirs, and I'll approach that differently than if I'm watching a documentary. All of those things, part of what those ways of approaching a text rely on is you knowing what the purpose of the text is and how it's organized. So in the textbook example, I might know that there will be section headings. I might know that some key terms will be in bold. If I'm looking at a documentary, I'll probably expect that to unfold a story, right? So knowing the way things are structured can help you process your information. Finally, for author knowledge. If I know, for example, that an author tends to really argue from a utilitarian perspective. With another class right now, I'm reading an article called Peter Singer's Solution to World Poverty. That author tends to work from a utilitarian philosophical perspective. Knowing that, I will expect as a reader to see a utilitarian perspective represented in his writing. So those are the ways that your different kinds of schema can help you think about what you're reading or what you're learning in the lecture. One great way to activate schema is to use text-to connections. I think these are fairly self-explanatory, but I like to review those briefly. So text to self really means, how does this information relate to you and your own experience? If you're reading Dr. Seuss's book about the Sneetches, Starvillate Sneetches, you might make a text-to-self connection that talks about the times that people try to fit in and the times that people try to set themselves apart to maybe feel better than other people around them. So that's text to self. It's how does your experience help you make sense of what you're reading. Text to text then connects the thing that you're reading to other things that you've read or that you've seen. So if I'm reading a piece of short fiction that's set in the Regency era, I might connect that to other works that are set in the Regency era in England. I might connect that to movies or history shows that I've seen. So this is kind of setting that in the wider view of other things that you know. Text to world then is the one that really takes on those larger level connections. What do you know about events, either current events or events in the past, that might help you make sense of the information you're gathering. Okay, and the final thing I want to say to you guys about using Schema is don't stop with activating your Schema when you finish your pre-reading. So you'll do a lot of these steps before you even start reading. You'll survey your knowledge, you'll think about how it might fit. But as you build through your reading, keep monitoring your comprehension. How does this piece of information connect to my own experience? How might this fit in the bigger picture of other things I've read? And then finally, at the end of your reading, if you go back and think again about how all that goes, it can help you start processing and fitting your new knowledge into your existing schema. Okay, I think that's it for the schema. Have a great week.